Okay, I make it 12:30, so let's start our first webinar for 2021 for the Training Collective. Welcome to everybody. I'm Yvette Adams. I'm excited to be presenting this to you today. This topic is actually something we started presenting towards the end of last year with a couple of clients, and they really loved it. So we thought, why not put it out to a few more people and see if we can help them get super organized for 2021 with their content. Because I don't know about you, but I know I'm okay with content. That is one of my superpowers. I'm terrible with maths and certain other things in business, but I know for some people, coming up with good content or cool content, whatever you want to call it, is a real chore. Or maybe they come up with the content, but they're just not sure if it's the right content or what time of the day they should post it or how to check if it's good or not, whether they think it's good or not. So let's go through all of that today. Now, I just want to make sure you can hear and see me just fine before we get into the swing of it all. So I've had Danielle say she couldn't hear me, but now she can. Could I have a little text chat, just a hello, a little message in the chat area, and make sure you do it to everybody, just so I can see that you can hear me okay and that you're ready to go. Kim said yes. Danielle said hi, everybody. Yulia said can hear you fine. Awesome. Couple more. I know there's quite a few of you on and more coming in by the looks. Just find the chat area. Hi from Deb. Hello. Welcome, welcome. There's actually lots of names on today I've not heard of before, so that's really cool. Hello, Nick, and it's a good evening from the time zone you're in. Okay, I'm going to change that to everyone. Hello. Okay, let's get into it. If you've never done training with the Training Collective, we've been around a while. In fact, we have been delivering digital skills training for over 10 years. We first started in 2009 as a spin-off company of my other company, the Creative Collective. There's a lot of collectives now around, but we've been doing this for 14 years. The Creative Collective was started in 2007. And the Training Collective came after when we discovered people didn't want us to just do the service. They wanted to know how to do things themselves. And we've never been shy of showing them how, because we think if you combine the skills with the service, you can get the best results of all. So our vision is to be a leading training organisation nationally, and we are giving people digital skills to succeed in a digital world. And what a digital world we live in. It's never been more digital, has it? I've seen some stats recently about how many teleconferences people are doing for medical, people are ordering online more than ever before. We are living in a different world. 2020 did shake things up. I'm not going to go on about that, but let's face it, things have changed and we need to get smarter with how we do them online. For those of you who've never done a training session with me, just a quick intro. My name's Yvette. As I said, I'm from Wellington, New Zealand originally. I first started off with the government. It was actually called the Hillary Commission in Wellington, New Zealand. That's the equivalent of the Australian Sports Commission. So I worked in the communications team there for 3 years. And I also studied a diploma in journalism at the same time. So I worked and studied, got enough money together, went overseas, worked mainly in the media and in marketing, but I also, waited tables and worked in finance and some other industries, mainly in the UK. And travelled a whole lot for most of my 20s, 7 years in all. I arrived to Australia with a wee boy and his father, who I'm no longer with, and a couple of backpacks. This weekend we're moving and I've got a 5-bedroom house, 3 bathrooms to pack up. It's insane to think I got here with a couple of backpacks. And now in my life there are 4 teenagers, because I have met a wonderful new man and he has 2 teens and one of them's come to live with us recently. So between us we have now 14, they keep having birthdays. They're now 14, but nearly 15, 17 and 18. So I need to update the slides. I love business. I've started 6, I've sold 2, I've acquired 1. These days, I'm running the Creative Collective, the Training Collective, which I've told you about, and awardshub.com, which is a business awards portal that helps you find business awards to enter. Won lots of business awards, which is how I came to do Awards Hub. I'm one of 9, I think there's actually 10 of us official trainers for Facebook, and some of my credentials over there on the left are things I studied for and passed last year. So you're in good hands when it comes to social media. I love any excuse to do travel, and I try and do it often in normal circumstances, though of course what's going on has definitely stopped the brakes on that a fair bit. And I've been using social networks since 2007, which makes me sound really old. The first network I started with was LinkedIn in 2007, and then 2008 I set up my first Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, pretty much every other profile. And as new ones have emerged, I've been playing. And this week, for the first time, I signed up for Clubhouse, which you have to get an exclusive invite to. I have 2 invites to give out. I'm not going to give them out on this call, but if you want to know more about that, perhaps we could do a future webinar on that. Here's what we're going to stick to today. We're not going to go off on a tangent, talk about Clubhouse. We're going to talk about what is a content calendar and why do you need one. Our 30-30-30-10 rule, which is really helpful when it comes to getting the content mix right. What frequency to post and what times to post and what days to post, because everybody's different. How to look for what content you've posted is working really well, what sort of stats is in the realms of good and which ones are in the realms of not so good. And just how to be creative with your content and come up with stuff even when you're not in the mood. Now, I said at the start, I'm pretty good with content. I'm quite a creative person. Writing comes naturally to me. I'm lucky, but I do have days where I'm just sitting at the computer going, oh, I don't know what to write for this client, or the words just aren't coming to me. So I'll share some of my best techniques to kind of get the creative juices flowing. How does that sound? Everyone ready for some learning? Okay, if so, let's go. Yay. This is our 7-step social media success wheel. So I'd love to know how many of you have actually trained with us before. Drop us a line if you have, because if you have, quite possibly you might have seen this. Now, a lot of our online training refers to this. This is our IP, and it's how we break down social media to just make it super simple for people. To us, there's 7 steps, and if you get them right, you'll have really great social media. You've got to get clear on your objectives, target market, brand voice, setting up things correctly, and content. And essentially today, we're focusing in quadrant 5, which is all about creating content. So far, those of you who've dropped me a line have said, no, you haven't trained with us before. But that's the case. I'm curious to know how you heard about today's session too. Feel free to just chitter-chatter in the chat as much as you like with me. I love it. I thrive on interaction. Okay, if you haven't trained with us and that wheel is not familiar, it's very important we do pause and recap on these things, because you've got to actually do this work and get clear on it so that you can get the content right. What you can do, and I do see businesses do, is they just make up content, pretty pictures they think are pretty, write some words they think are relevant and put it out there on social media. And there's really no strategy to it. They're just putting, things in the gap. What I would like you to step back and do first up is actually get super clear on what is it you're trying to do on social media. So if you look at the top bit, and this also relates, as you can see, to this upside down pyramid. If you are a new business or you are new to social media and you have a very small following and possibly a low awareness of your brand or your business or your products, your services, or your event, then you really need to start in that awareness phase. So a lot of people want to skip to the good stuff. I get people ring up and say, I want you to do our social media posting or ads, and I want you to just get me leads. And I have to often say, it's not that easy to just go straight to that. It's a process, is how I explain it. So I go through that process of understanding, how long have they been in business for? How long have they been on social media for? What's their current approach like? What does their current structures look like? And is their brand well known? If the answer is no, and that's the sort of zone you're in the awareness phase. So you should be picking off objectives that are going to help you get your brand more well known and that are going to get your reach. Okay, that's the first step in this process. Now, if you think you have got brand awareness and you've reached some people and you've got some people in your networks, you've got a few runs on the board, then you might be in the consideration zone. Because here's the thing, I could tell you, here's a great phone, buy it. But that's not going to really sell it to you. Usually you've got to become aware that the iPhone 12 is out. Then you've got to consider it and go to the website or see how much it costs or message someone and ask them what features are different from the previous iPhones, etc. until you buy it, right? Every time you go and buy something or fill in a lead or actually take the action a lot of businesses want you to take, you've probably consciously or subconsciously gone through these other processes. So they've got to know, like, and trust you. And a lot of businesses and people, want to do that due diligence themselves. So this consideration phase is where they're considering you. They're considering, is this right for me? What is this on offer? What is their website like? What's their team like? If I message them, do they message me back? Do they give me good information? Do I feel like I could work with these people if it's a service, or do I feel like I want to buy from them if it's a product? So that's the consideration phase. And then finally, conversion. So that's where you get the magic stuff. That's where you get people requesting a quote if you're a service-based business with that on your website. That's where you get people actually buying or coming to your store, etc. So I'd love you, if you have not ever really thought about your objectives, to write down, if you've got an open document on your computer or a pen and paper, what is your objectives? Is there anything on that screen that's resonating with you right now? That's what you need. Write that down and keep that firmly in mind when you're creating your content. So might be 1, 2, or 3 of those as well. And I'm more than happy to share these slides if you're looking at this going, oh, I need to reflect on it and spend time. And our live workshops in person, we do a lot of that. So if you wanted more time with more guidance on that, feel free to come to one of those. Now, the second thing that we'd normally spend a lot of time in, again, if we're in a full workshop, is your target audience, because a lot of people, as I said, they just write content and they go, well, I think this is great content, or I think this is funny, and they type it out. But they haven't actually stopped and thought, who's the receiver of this information? What do they want to hear about? So it's not about you, it's about them. I'm all about customer-centric marketing, and that means getting really clear on who your target market are, and there might be more than one. So on the screen here, we've got franchise CEO Michael, we've got salon owner Claire, and we've got self-employed Katie. I actually like to take it a step further and give them names that are alliteration, meaning the same start, like Helen the housewife or agency Angela. And it's taking some trait that typifies that person. So like in some of my clients, we've got downsizer Dave, or we've got renovating Rita. So they're just names, but straight away, I've just given you a word that sums up what they're into and what their motive is. So Dave is downsizing his house. He's interested in buying a new house that is a smaller apartment and a lifestyle thing. And I could tell you all about them. I could tell you where they live, whether they've got kids, if they're married, what their problems are, and I'm guessing, right? But I'm giving them a persona, essentially. So if you've never done this before, it's also some homework. Write on your notebook, write in your document, target audience, do some soul searching, come up with at least 1, if not 2 or 3 target audiences. Some people even have 5 or 6. It really depends. So you might have a target audience for a certain product line and a different target audience for a different product line. So that's how they sometimes break down. Sometimes it's because of their geographic location. City folk are fundamentally different to rural folk, aren't they? So, there's differences there too. Ages are different. And the whole content you would write for someone who's at their retirement age is completely different to if your audience were young males, in their early 20s or teens. So that's why this stuff is important. So there's some homework. And then a final recap before we get into, the actual content calendar stuff is your brand voice. So our approach to that is doing 3 headers, again on paper. And number 1, looking at your voice. So what sort of company or person are you? So trying to come up with adjectives that describe the brand personality, the vibe you want to give your posts. So are you prim and proper, Royal English? If you're a marmalade, maybe that would suit. Or are you like men's workwear? So it's like industrial blokey. Are you a law firm? Maybe it's got to be quite corporate and professional. Or are you a childcare centre? So you want to be fun and friendly. So do you see the different brand voices? That's sort of the vibe you want to give what you put out there. It shouldn't be your personality. It should be the personality you want to give your brand out there, the perception. So write down some words on that too. Feel free to share these too, by the way, as you brainstorm. Topics. This is coming up with words and topics that you can talk about. So what most people tend to do here is just write down the thing they do. So if they're a doctor, they'd write down medical stuff. But I want you to be specific. So if you were a doctor, what do you specialize in? And you can say, well, I'm a GP. It's pretty general. But I'm sure, like, maybe you're a female GP, maybe you're from a different country, so you could mention that. Maybe you are great with women's health, being one. Maybe not. Maybe you love pediatrics. Maybe you like orthopedics and limbs. Whatever that is, like, let's talk about that. And then maybe if it were orthopedics and limbs, maybe you talk about sports results as well, or certain teams that you follow. So I think you really got to come up with, in this topic zone, your editorial remit for your channels. So it's almost like if you're going to put out a new magazine and you said, this is the type of magazine it is, and this is the stuff we'll talk about. Like, we'll talk about surfing and coffee and beer, for example. Now that would make people who like surfing and coffee and beer love your magazine and be drawn to you. So if you set out with that, people will come towards you. So these are some of ours: entrepreneurship, social media, female leaders. So tapping into who you are, not being afraid of being authentic. Like, we don't sell female leadership courses, and we're not feminists per se, but we definitely love promoting other female leaders and, you know, talking about equality and diversity on boards and things like that, because it's part of who we are and what we believe in. Finally, you've got influencers, which is over on that other column, and that is sources of content. So when you put out content on social, it shouldn't be all your own all the time. You should share other people's content, and you should tag in people as well. So who are those people, or businesses or brands? They could be people you know and have a really close working relationship. They could be very removed. They could be brands you're aspiring to work with. They could be your industry bodies. That's what I've got listed there. Some of those acronyms like ADDA, AMIA, they're industry bodies. Could be media in your industry. Could be local councils or local, I don't know, icons and things like that. It really depends what you do. So everyone should define this, and it should look very different. And now, hey, guess what? You're coming up with some content. And this is just one way that you can do a bit of a brand voice brainstorm. This is one way that you can get better at content and come back to this list when you're having that moment of, don't know what to write. And also, you know, if over time you want to outsource your social media, whether that's to an intern or a staff member, or actually engage an agency like ourselves, you need stuff like this, because you've thought about the strategy and you've set it for them. When we have clients come to us that don't have this, we go through this process with them to pull out of them what is it we're going to talk about. So for instance, we are going to be starting with a real estate agency, and they do rentals and they do property listings, but we're yet to do the briefing session where we'll pull out all of this stuff, like exactly what areas do you cover, who are your demographics, who are you guys? I know they've been in business a long time, but what do they believe in? And we'll start pulling all of that out, and quite possibly we'll be talking about, you know, some of the rental industry bodies that are out there, or I imagine REIQ, because they are in Queensland, for instance. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. If people got some ideas going of content already, just off the back of this brand voice piece, let me know. So once you've done that objective, target market, and brand voice work, and it's really important that you do, you are now ready to create a content calendar. What is that? Well, it could be a simple grid with a few links, or an actual dashboard that you can plan out lots of different feeds, meaning, you know, your Facebook feed, your Instagram feed, and others. So it can be as simple or as complex as you would like. If you are on your own in business or in a small business, simple's good. There's no need to get overcomplicated. I do know though, and I do work with bigger brands that have, you know, multiple brands and multiple sub brands and multiple channels. So theirs gets a little bit, you know, bigger. I personally love using Google Sheets. You can collaborate on them. So what we'll often do is create a content calendar for clients and then share that with them so they can have input. And if they don't like that word, they can change that word. If they've got a piece of content they really want to get in the mix, they can add that piece of content onto that calendar. And we just keep working through like that. It's nice and time effective for everybody. Apart from having a calendar, which is what you're going to post, when you're going to post it, all of that. And I'm going to give you templates at the end of this too, by the way. I also recommend you have a content repository. And what that is I liken it to being a squirrel, and they go around and they collect nuts and then they save them for the winter time and then they hibernate. So I like collecting my nuts, the pieces of content that I see that I go, oh, that's good content for that client. Oh, that's good content for us. And I store it away either on a spreadsheet. So it could just be a link and I could write a quick idea. It doesn't need to be a full post, just talk about benefits of, I don't know, some food on arthritis or something, and then the link. That's one way to do it, so that when you go to do your post, you can lean on that repository. Or again, you can get an intern or a staff member or someone else to lean on that repository, and you can have other people feed into that repository. So maybe if you have got multiple staff, you can actually share this Google Sheet with them and say, guys, if you see great content around and you want us to consider posting it, please pop it in there, and the person who's preparing the post will look at that. So that's a good way to do it. I don't know if you knew, but Facebook's actually got this fantastic feature, which is called Save. So on any given post, let's say you see a post on Facebook and you go, wow, that would be a good post to share on my channels. My audience would love that. You can actually go to the top right and there's 3 dots and you click on it, drop down, and there's an option to save. Not only that, but in more recent times, they've made what they call collections. So you can make different folders, that's a collection of content. So we have different folders for different clients, and if we see something that would suit X client, we save it to there, Y client, save it to there, ourselves, save it to there. So you could use it in that way if you're managing multiple brands on social media. And if you're not, you could just have one content repository, or you could have different types of content. You might have one for videos, one for images, one for inspirational posts, etc. So are you guys familiar with that feature? It's a really great feature. Once you've saved them, if you don't know how to find them, you go to your home menu, and over on the left-hand side, there's tabs, and one of them is saved. Danielle said, hadn't heard of it, exclamation mark. Cool, it's a great time saver. And Jessica has heard of it and says it's great, awesome. Yeah, literally some of our team, they lie in bed looking for content at night, and that's when they do their content repository work, and they don't mind because they just cruise around the net. Oh, it looks good, save that. So they're actually in their pajamas asleep, but they're still doing the work. Not asleep, sorry, they're relaxing. Okay, so if you've got some content going on and you've actually now got this and you've got some great posts to go out, you need to now start thinking about, when am I going to post this? And this is something I find people do struggle with. You should not just take the post and put it out because I'm doing my social media now and midday, it suits me to pop it out. You need to post at the times that people are online, your audience again. So if they're backpackers and they're up at 10 o'clock at night and you're not, schedule it. We'll show you how to do that or mention that later. How you find out what your peak times are is within the insights part of your Facebook page. That's at least on Facebook, and I'll show you how to do Instagram, and a lot of the other networks offer this too. And it's once you've got the hang of this, you'll be able to find it too. So you need to be the admin of your Facebook page, and provided you are, and provided you have more than 100 likes, and provided you've been going about a month and have enough data, then you'll be able to log in and see your insights. So I click on my insights, and then over on the left-hand side, I click on my posts. And right at the top of the page is something that looks like this. It actually has a few tabs, and it may have even updated since this slide was created, because they do update the interface all the time, the way it looks on Facebook. But they'll have when your fans are online. So that's one perspective. That's of the people who actually like your page. When are they online? There's usually 2 others, and one is your engaged fans, the ones that like and comment and share on your post. When are they online, and do they vary from just your fans? And there's another view as well. So anyway, you can see on here, one of my top times is actually 10 o'clock, and I might not have thought to put it out that late if I hadn't have seen this. Danielle said, do I know if LinkedIn has this level? And Yulia wants to know about LinkedIn as well. Last I checked, LinkedIn do not have the specific time. They do tell you what posts are working the best. So sorry, not at the moment. What you could do is some third-party tools would probably be able to take your LinkedIn posts and tell you your best times based on the stuff you've been posting. So that's something you could look at as well. This is what the Instagram view looks like. You go into your insights on there. So that's going into the hamburger menu top right. And then once you're in there, going to insights, then going to audience, and we can see here a view kind of like that. So it's looking like 6 p.m. is pretty good, and I can flick through on what days the week. Now, I encourage all of you, again, as homework, to go and look this stuff up. And even if you used to know it, check it regularly, because it can change. And things that can change it are public holidays, weather patterns, if there's storms, COVID outbreaks, obviously, if people are locked down, the times they're on and how long they're on can dramatically change, as we've all learned. So check it fairly regularly and update it accordingly. So make a note of your best time, your second best time, your third best time, and that's going to start shaping your content calendar. Becomes a much more strategic decision than just, popping things out when you think they're on or when they used to be on. So there we go. Now, apart from the time to post when it comes to your content, inside your insights, also on that post tab I just introduced you to, if you scroll down, you've also got what to post. There's clues here of what's already working really well. And again, you want to take note of this because it often surprises me. Sometimes I put out posts and I think, that is a great post that's going to go so well, and it doesn't. And I go, what would I know? Other times I just put out a post and go, it's an okay post, and it goes bananas. So sometimes you can't tell, but if you're watching this all of the time, it can be very, it can vary. So let's have a look at this and go through some of these stats and what they mean. This one here, reach, this is the number of people this post reached. Now, a lot of misconception is out there that if I have, let's say 1,000 likes on my Facebook page, that 1,000 people will see my post when I put it out. No, sorry, it's not that good. It used to be that good back in the heyday. These days, there's so many factors which determine how many people see your post. And they are, this is algorithms explained. How many likes you have, sure, that comes into it, but more so who is online at that time, who has engaged with your posts previously, whether you've put any boost on the post, and whether it gets engagement. If people start liking, commenting and sharing that post, it's more likely to be seen and reach more people. So for every like you get, you're probably going to reach more people. One comment, more people, shared, more people. So let's have a look at this. There's also two perspectives. There's usually the best organic post, because you can see here that light orange signifies organic. What organic means is nobody paid for people to see that post. So Facebook is a pay-to-play environment. A lot of people think it's free. You can do stuff for free, but if you really want to get going, you've got to have some boost budget. That's another story, but as a total giveaway, $200 a month, probably minimum, you need to be spending on boosting your post to actually get some action happening on Facebook, okay? And that might maybe be $50 a post once a week. So 4 times $50, $200. So this post, if I was analysing it, went out on 8th of the 5th. And if you click on it, it's actually a Back to the Future meme. Always listen to the doc. I can't remember what that said, but 2,000 people nearly were reached. They saw that post. And look at the level of engagement. So do you see they directly correlate? Lots of people clicked on it, lots of people reacted and commented, therefore lots of people were reached. They're individual people, by the way. So impressions is they might have seen it 3 times, reaches, they've all seen it once. So that's 1.9 thousand people. 1.9 thousand? 1,900. Yeah, that's the correct way to say it. Now down here, we've got a boosted post. Now, we have put together here a more self-promotional post. It's not just a fun post. And what do you know? We've put some money on it and we got similar numbers, though not quite as good. So interesting to observe that. So what could I learn from it? People like Back to the Future memes. People maybe like memes. It's certainly in line with our content remit because we do talk about technology. We like a bit of retro. We like having a bit of fun and it not just be all serious, etc. as well. So you can also see, analyze it some more. That's a sort of meme thing. It's about productivity, 393 reached, and then we live in a beautiful world filled with marvelous. I don't know what that was. It's some kind of link we must have shared out. Didn't get much engagement, but, I did a little bit, a few post clicks, but no one really reacting. So they must have clicked and gone off to that link is my guess. So there's me analyzing our posts. I challenge you to go find this, have a look, make a note. If you, let's say we're a pet shelter and all your dog posts were doing better than your cat post, there's kind of a clue there to maybe do more dog posts. If you want more reach, which in turn could maybe, when you do put the cat posts out, help them find a home. Do you see what I mean? I hope that's making sense. Okay, these are our 2 best posts. Now, similarly, just looks a little different on Instagram. You'll find these under best posts. So we go into insights and we can see our top post, and there's a little figure across the image. So this, I think it's the Brooklyn Bridge, 4,800 people saw it. Looks like Mount Fuji, 4,800, 4,554 and downwards. So we can learn, I don't know, they like New York or they like bridges. So we start trialing with those sorts of things in mind. So there we go. There's a good explanation there of impressions and reach, just for learning's sake. Impressions is the total number of times your post has been seen. If I said 3 times, that's 3. Reach is the number of unique accounts that have seen your post. So if I've seen it 3 times, I'm still 1 person. That would be 1. So reach will always be a lower number. Personally, I'm always looking for reach. I like reaching lots of people who are the right people with my posts. Okay, how often to post? Anyone want to know this? This is usually a common question when it comes to their content calendar. Do I do 1 post a day? Do I do 1 a week? How many should I do? Well, I'd say on Facebook, it really depends on your audience. It could be 1 a day, ideally, but I'm going to give you options for less. It could be 3 times a day, but it depends who your audience are. Let me give you an example. So let's say, and I had a live example like this, there was a parenting publication we were consulting, and we looked at their times, and on that wavy thing with the times, there was 2 or 3 distinct up and downs where they had peak people on there. One was in the morning before work time, one was in the middle of the day, and one was after work time, weekdays. So we worked out, this is a parenting magazine, and there's a couple of kinds of parents. There's go to work parents and there's stay at home parents. We think the people looking at the posts in the morning and at night, probably the working parents, and the ones looking at the middle of the day, probably the stay-at-home parents who look at Facebook and maybe our channel when their kids are having a sleep in the middle of the day. So what did we do? We adjusted the content calendar to suit. So we started putting out posts at 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. for the working parents, like quick and easy healthy lunchtime snacks, like best kindergartens to go to and what to look for. And the things in the day were things like what to do with your child on a rainy day, best parks on the Sunshine Coast, etc. So do you see how we curated what went out and when, and that there was a cause in their case to do more than 1 post a day because they had different people online at different times. So the answer to yours will very much depend on what peaks and troughs you have and figuring out who they are. If you're a Twitter person, you can really go nutso. Just put out as many posts as you want. You can retweet, you can put out posts, you can automate posts. You really can't do too much Twitter, although some people who follow Trump's Twitter might disagree. LinkedIn, generally not more than once a day. It's not really a spammy type environment. I've already picked up on some of you saying LinkedIn is something you're interested in. Once a week would be okay, or a couple of times a week when you've got something interesting to say for your business audience, because obviously LinkedIn is a B2B audience, but not more than once would be my pick. Instagram depends on your audience again. Could be once a day, could be 2 or 3 times a day, could be 10 times a day. But, and this is also stories now. So stories are becoming very, very visible. If you have not heard of stories, let me give you a quick looky. So when I log in to my Facebook, whoops, I just went on a post. They're very visible. These are stories. So I can go that way and I can click on them and they take up the whole screen. So you see them on Instagram too. On Instagram, they look like this. That's I don't think we've got a story up right now. That's my stories there. And I can scroll along and see what any of here we go, US, Q has got one, so I click on it and it opens the stories, and I can tap, not tapping, tap down here, tap to see different stories. So I'm going that way instead of scrolling down. Now on stories, I came back from Facebook in 2019 going, guess what, guys? They reckon stories are going to overtake the posts and the feed. More people going to look at them. All the young people in my team said, well, we never look at the feed. Who looks at the feed? And I went, oh, I'm old. I didn't know that. And I went home to the teenagers, who I also have as sounding boards to stay cool and relevant, and said, guess what, guys? Facebook reckon more people are going to look at stories soon than posts and feed. They said, Mum, we never look at the feed. And that made me stand up and take notice about stories. Someone's just posted, how do we create stories? Gosh, we could do a whole lesson on stories, and we have in the past, so I won't go into it too much. But in short, on Instagram, you go to here and you click on your, oh gosh, you could get anything in your feed. That was ladies' underwear. I click on this, why is it not loading? That's me, there's my face. I click on that, and now I'm making a story. So I could take a photo of that. That's a story. And if I were to send to, I could send it to my Facebook, or just publish that on my Instagram. I could give you a whole lot more lessons on stickers and text and all sorts of things. It's quite a different format. It's obviously very vertical. A lot of people do story after story. People do recipes on them. They do styling sessions on them. They share music and sneak previews and behind the scenes and all this kind of stuff. So we as a company are definitely producing more stories than ever before for our clients, and we're sort of making the move to do more stories or posts. But again, depends on the demographic. So just as I've explained to you, look at the numbers, look at the times, look at who's looking at what. The young ones are looking at stories, and you're getting more people looking at stories. Start going the way of stories. If your audience is still traditional people who look at posts and feeds, then post there. But do have another look at stories and definitely go for it. Kim said, do we have a Zoom on stories? We do have an online module of a stories session we have run before if you would like to purchase it. So that's on the Training Collective website. Okay, how often should we post stories as a guide? Good question. Depends on your audience, depends when they're online. They last 24 hours. So I guess you've got to think, how can I put my story out at a time when they're likely to see it? And then I want it to last. Like if it didn't last till tomorrow morning, but they're going to look tomorrow morning, will that be a bad time to post? You can get story scheduling tools like Storito, Storrito. I'll write that out for you. And you can get all sorts of help with making stories as well. You guys seem really interested in stories. But I would say go nuts, like Twitter. Do as many as you can, and try and do at least one a day, I would say. Pinterest, as much as you like also, and YouTube as much as you like, but spread it out. Don't just have, 10 videos you just have produced and upload them all at once. I would upload them slowly and schedule them out. So there's some tips, but there's guidelines, but you've got to find your own groove, and you've got to test and measure everything. But let's say you've logged in and you've done what I've said today, and you've discovered that 5 p.m. Friday is your best time of the week, and that, I don't know, Wednesday at 2 o'clock is your second best time. Bring that into your content calendar. So I'm going to give you a template like this via email after the call, and you can use this to start translating into your content calendar. So on the screen, we have an actual real life client, and this is a building company in Melbourne that we work with called Building Co. So here we have the day we're going to post it, the date, the time, the image, the words, the emoticons even we're going to use, the image link if it needs to be changed or adjusted, and then the hashtags, because in this case we're posting on Instagram, and a lot of people look for reno and construction inspiration on Instagram. So we use lots of hashtags, but you can also see that we're using relevant ones for the relevant post. So I'll share the spreadsheet with you, and you can make it your own. And this is what we use with clients. So we prepare their content and we say, here's your content calendar. Are you happy? And they can say, yes, 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 looks good. Let it go out. So nothing goes out that they haven't approved and had input in. Or they might also say, oh, I've got this other big announcement, I need to slot that in. And it's just scheduling is all we do. So I've started alluding to this just before, but we have this 30-30-30-10 rule. So when you've worked out what your absolute best time is to post, I encourage you to use that time to promote yourself or your business or your products or your services, because that's your peak time, right? That's prime time on your station. So that could be company news, a new hire, an award you've won, a special offer, a new product launch, whatever it is, get that content out at your prime times. Next up though, I'd say do that 30% of the time. So 30% of the time, I also think you should promote others. So isn't that interesting? Promote yourself as much as you promote others. Why? Social media is a very reciprocal space. So if I help you, you might help me, or I just want to be seen to be associated with you because that's good for business. It's all about you. It's all me, 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 and it gets very boring. So we like to have a content mix, and this is how we achieve it. Promoting others, they don't need to be competitive. They should be complementary. I don't know, maybe you've got a local hair salon and there's a local coffee shop down the road you could promote and say, grab a coffee on your way in or we'll get one for you. Next quadrant is 30% give value. So here we're not promoting ourselves necessarily or promoting others. We're just going, here's some useful information. Because I'm going to hazard a guess, a lot of you are obvious experts in your space. You probably know a lot about whatever it is you do. If you're a podiatrist, I bet you know a lot about feet. If you're a magazine publisher, I bet you know a lot about journalism, editorial content, whatever the space is in that. If you're a baker, I bet you know a lot about baking great cakes. So talk about the best flour to use if you're the best baker. Talk about the best shoes to wear if you're a podiatrist, and whether they come to use you as a podiatrist or not, or go and buy the shoes, you don't care, but you're trying to help and give value to your dear social media community. So these are often tips, blog posts, videos, just helpful stuff, and there's no sale in it for you or anybody else necessarily. Finally, we have the 10%, and that's inspiration. So that could be the memes, like the Back to the Future thing we did. That could be cartoons, it could be quotes, it could be photos of a nice sunset while you're out walking. Again, it really depends on who your target market are and what your objectives are. But if I said to you, you should ideally post on social media every day, and you said that's so much content, what on earth would I do? This is how you do it. That's only 2 self-promotionals a week, 2 promoting others, 2 give values, and 1 of those inspirations per week. And you can actually come up with the inspirations, like make the quotes for the rest of the year, make 52 of them, and you're done. Schedule that out. Go and find some good, helpful, relevant, evergreen blog posts. Evergreen means they don't get old. They're not going to date. You could use them anytime. They are out there in some industries. And schedule them. And now you've only got a little bit of content to produce for the year or the month or whatever it is. So social media doesn't have to be a massive chore, and neither does content production once you know all these tricks that we're teaching. So here's an example of a self-promotional post, like I just talked about, 30%. This is us promoting one of our hands-on full-day interactive workshops. We've got these coming up in Newcastle and the Sunshine Coast. We have a social media strategy session coming up. Love to know where you guys are all based, and if you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you in person if you enjoy doing training with us too, by the way. Here's a promote others. So this is when Facebook came out. Oh, Melbourne. So we used to, oh, you're Melbourne too, Kim. We used to run stuff in Melbourne, and we're going to run some more, but obviously last year we couldn't really run much in Melbourne. We're just sort of keeping an eye on what's happening, but if you guys want us to come to Melbourne, we'll do one. Yulia's in Melbourne too. Got the Melbourne crew on today. How about that? That's okay. Or you could fly up. Queensland is nice. We should talk afterwards. Okay. Sunshine Coast, grab your free tickets. Yeah, Facebook did some free workshops. We promoted them because it's good for us to show. I mean, I'm on the Sunshine Coast, and it's good for us to show that we're sharing stuff that Facebook's doing. So we're promoting others here. This is an example of giving value. So there's no sell in it. Just who has discovered the new Facebook avatar feature? Show us yours. And everyone had lots of fun coming up with their avatars and posting in it. So I'm not selling the avatars. Facebook doesn't charge for avatars. They're not making money. We just put it out there for a bit of fun. And here's an example of an inspiration or meme post. So we found that and put it out there, and that worked pretty well as well. These ones, I'll warn you, they get great engagement. People love these. So it can be very tempting to go, I'll just do 50% of those or 100% of those because people love them. Some brands do. There's brands like Saint Frock or Shopo. They actually sell clothes, but most of what they put out is memes and funnies. But they can, because they've got such massive marketing budgets. They're big companies, they're well-known brands. So they've been through that brand awareness thing, and they're not necessarily even trying to sell. They've moved on and they're just having fun on social media. So that's why you'll see companies do that stuff too sometimes. A few more points about content, and we're zooming through the content now because the time's flying. Mobile rules. So I've already talked about the up and up of stories, and stories work because they fill this entire screen up. And let's face it, this is how people use social media, and this with the way stories work. So consider, what is it you're going to put in your content that's going to grab people's attention? Is it a bright color? Is it a crazy clown? Is it a video? Is it an amazing image? It can't just be, oh hum, seeing that image everywhere. And certainly don't do a post without an image at all. That is not a good idea. Why is this an issue? Our attention spans are shorter than ever, and our brains can actually process faster than you think. I've heard stats to suggest our brains have a shorter attention span than a goldfish now. Isn't that shocking? So because of the huge use of mobile phones and social media, human brains are actually evolving, would you believe? And we're processing images and data is so fast. Like, think back 100 years of what your great-grandparents maybe were doing in a day in terms of information. If you're lucky, they read the newspaper, and that's the amount of data they consumed, and not too many images flashing in front of their face. Today, our kids sit like this with all these images and data coming at them, and their brains are evolving to consume a lot of information. And yes, there are mental health effects and ADHD and all sorts of interesting things happening off the back of that. But what you need to know about that as a marketer is that you need to put out quality content to get people's attention if you want to have a chance at doing well here. So there's the stats. In 2000, the average human attention span was 12 seconds. So that's only 21 years ago. The human attention span in 2013 was 8 seconds, and the goldfish is apparently 9. So we're worse than a goldfish. The way, apart from, let's say you do actually get them to stop. They're scrolling, they see your post, they click on it. The next thing they're going to do is do this. If it's an Instagram post, they've actually done studies on what parts grab people's attention first. The part that grabs people's attention first is the image or the video, otherwise known as the creative. So you need to put emphasis here. A lot of people sit there typing these big things out, but studies have proven that images and videos are actually what grab people in the first place. The second thing they'll often look at is the engagement, though, of course, Instagram and Facebook have taken away, there's 10,000 likes on this because people are getting really silly on it. But they are going to see, well, there's a lot of comments and things like that. The next they'll look at is who said it, and then finally what they said, in the order on Instagram at least. So just consider that and really put emphasis, my point is, on the creative out of everything else. So if you were sitting there going, oh, I know you want me to post regularly, but what you're telling me is just too much. Here's what I would call regular. So that's the ×2 self-promotion to promote others. This would be a daily posting regime, but you can do lighter ones. So this is exactly how we structure our content. I would say you need to do at least 2 or 3 posts a week, or else probably don't do social media. Or if you can't do it yourself, but you see the value in it, get somebody else to do it. We'd love to help you if you'd like to reach out. Or all of our social media packages are on our website. So we call something like this our starter social media package, and it starts at $560 a month, not much per week. Next up, we do sort of 4 to 5 posts a week, and we have a few more stories. Then we have the daily one, and then we do have some clients who we call high volume. They're posting more than 1 item per day, and then we sometimes mix this up. Some do more stories, some don't. We do customized packages, and that's exactly what you need to do for your own business, is work out what people out there are responding to. Is 2 to 3 too much? Is it not enough? and play with the different frequencies until you feel like you're getting better results on social. I'm going to give you a template like this to fill in, but at this time of year, and why I thought it was great to run this particular session now too, is it's a great time to just zoom right out on the whole year. You've got 12 months ahead of you. What are your themes for the rest of the year? Now, I've thrown up some stuff, silly stuff in a way, and you should come up with your own. But you've got things like, I call them hallmark days to play with, meaning Hallmark, the card company, like when do they produce cards? Is there something you can do with that with your business? So for instance, if you're a restaurant, February, Valentine's Day, you may get bookings. So, make that your theme and come up with your post ideas or your offers now for February, for Valentine's Day, or maybe you put them out in January towards February. I don't know, what's another example? If you're an accountant in the financial space, of course, end of financial year is very important in your world. So think about what messages you'll put out and the key dates, and I don't know, different rules or things you can claim for this year that you haven't been able to in previous years. Think about Christmas, think about seasons, changing seasons, how that affects people you work with, their health, etc. And, even just 4 post ideas or offers, and do that on one sheet, and you'll feel a lot more organized for 2021, and get to the nitty-gritty later. On the screen is a whole lot more ideas of content that you can do. Some of them we've sort of touched on, and I'm not going to read all of them, but you can run polls, you can do contests. I love contests and competitions, and there's a whole blog on that on our website for free, or we've got a whole segment on that as well, because there's all these guidelines and rules you need to follow, and lots of businesses don't. You could share an interesting statistic, a fun fact. You could do some quick video training. You could do FAQs. You could get a customer talking about the business on the video. What else could you do? Share your workspace as a story, meet the team. You could share an industry article, do a day in the life as a story. I walk in the office, I get a coffee, I go and sit down, I talk to my colleague, So you can have fun with this. Again, I'm going to give you these slides, but after this session, you should not have any shortage on content ideas. I hope you're feeling like not overwhelmed, but like, relief, because there's so many things I can do. I just hadn't thought of all of these things. Another way, apart from just being given the idea, that's kind of like when you used to do those school stories. I wonder if you did them where the teacher would say it was a dark and stormy night and you had to continue. That's sort of what those were. These are other ways of looking at cool content. It's just coming up with headlines. So sometimes people write these huge novels and all they really need is a headline to get going, and something that in that busy newsfeed grabs people's attention. So could you use numbers? Could you ask a question? I'm a big fan of ask a question. I use that one a lot. Could you create urgency if it's a sales type thing? Could you trigger curiosity or emotion? Could you provide benefits? So these are also things you can play on. And over on the right, isn't this interesting? Top headline phrases. This will make you. This is why. Can we guess? Only X in. So they've actually analysed what gets good engagement, words like that. Here's a did you know example, like asking a question. Did you know that meditating could reduce stress by 14%? Now, this post is interesting because we put this out in the middle of COVID last year, and it's in our company colours. We took the time to create it and make it simple but striking. And why do we talk about meditation? We're not a yoga studio or anything like that, because we care about our people, our clients, our contractors, and our staff. And we wanted to be relevant at a time where people are under enormous stress, like people were losing money and rental things, and everyone was trying to figure out what this new thing meant. So we put that out then, and we started with did you know? And I bet all of you could come up with a post related to your own business that starts with did you know? How do I is another one. How do I transition my business to online? Blah, 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 blah. Here's how we do it. So write that down, write down a bunch of posts you could do, and the inspiration should start flowing. Have you, in this example, I said, have you been affected by bushfires or drought? Facebook offering help and gave a link to some free assistance. We know a lot of our audience are businesses and small businesses, and a lot were affected by bushfires and drought. We wanted to make sure we connected them to that great opportunity. Apart from just getting started with those opening liners, cool content whole content idea tools. There's one called BuzzSumo. You can pay for the service, but you can also do quite a lot on it for free. So have a play. You basically create an account, you log in, and you can search for a key phrase. So maybe if you're a podiatrist, you could write podiatry, podiatrist, foot, and just see what headlines come up. And it tells you, here's an article from moz.com. It got 257 engagements on Facebook, 5,000 shares on LinkedIn, etc., etc. So that sort of gives you an indication, holy cow, this is good content. But do go and check it out. Do read the whole lot. Do make sure it's in line with your values. And if it is, go ahead and share it out to your networks. It's a good content source file. This is a good one too. I don't know if you use Google Chrome. I certainly do. And I certainly use a lot of what are called Google Chrome extensions as well. Extensions are, as the name suggests, something that gives Google Chrome more functionality, extends its functions. So you can go to CrowdTangle link checker, and on any given article, so let's say I found this on the New York Times about world oceans and climate change, I can actually see that, whoa, this was highly engaged and shared. Maybe my audience will like it as well, because maybe it's evergreen content. It's still an issue. Climate change is still an issue. So we could maybe share it out. And this one's a little bit silly, but sometimes it works. I usually get them playing with it in the workshops we run. It's called Portent's Content Idea Generator. And you literally put in keywords related to your business. Again, podiatrist, foot, podiatry, sore foot, health, I don't know, things like that. And it mashes up the words and spits out headlines, and some are ridiculous. And you'll just go, I'm not using that. But then you hit refresh and the next one could be like, I could actually use that as a starting post. That has given me some inspiration. So if you're really struggling, BuzzSumo, Content Idea Generator, CrowdTangle are just a few tools you could have a play with. And in terms of content tools, I also think you should know, there's many, but I love Plan, P-L-A-N-N, because it helps you, apart from work out what you're going to say, work out the overall look and feel of your Instagram layout, which is really important because Instagram is very aesthetically driven. So if you've ever looked at an Instagram tile from a client, or sorry, from a company out there, a brand, and gone, oh, it just looks beautiful. It all matches. It all looks so professional. How'd they do that? They've probably done it from something like this. So you can see they've actually planned it out. They're going to do quote and travel and all of that. And they've put their color schemes in. They've managed the hashtags. They're using tools basically to do a better job. So you just need to know the tools, and you can too. So that brings me to the end, and I'm happy to open it up for questions. But your homework is basically analyze your best days and times to post on your social networks, make a note of it, know your audience, write your objectives, know your brand voice before that, then check out the tools we've shared and download the content calendar and start working on it, baby. 2021, here's your content calendar, here's your knowledge, here's your template. I hope I've equipped you, ready to take this year on and smash it. Questions? You're welcome to raise your hand if you want, and I can invite you on, or you can just text chat me, whichever you like. And if there's no questions, we can wrap up, because I appreciate it could be lunchtime and you might have to get back to things. Estimated cost for the daily post plan. You mean our costs for our posting daily? I'm gonna have to look up on our website. I think it's about $700 a month off the top of my head, but it's all on our website. Let's have a quick look for you. Feel free to type other questions. I should know this, shouldn't I? But we have 200 products, so I can't remember them all. Check the web. Yeah, it's under social, and it's under social media management. And I'm pulling it up now. What do we got? 30 pieces of content. That's about once a day. It's actually 975 plus GST. It's about 225 a week. And it's all outlined there. That gives you a monthly report. We schedule it. We do the research on hashtags. And we do a monthly meeting as well to go through what's happening, and you don't have to worry about it. So that's kind of nice. So you can see you can hire someone to do this stuff as in a staff member, or you can get the professionals in and we can do it for a similar amount as well. Is there a Zoom on how to make the pics? Yes, there is. We have sessions on Canva is our go-to tool. I'll type that in for you, and how to use it and get the most out of it. I think the session's called Become a Canva King or Queen, and I'm more than happy to send that out to you. In fact, in the debrief, I might just drop a few links to some of the webinar sessions, recordings. They are paid, that you can access and watch and gain knowledge on improving your social in every aspect. We've broken it down actually through COVID a lot. We did weekly sessions and they were an hour on each thing, and one was completely on Canva, making great images. There's one on videos too, which are very good. No problem, Kim. Jessica said, is there a good platform to collect leads, e.g. sales leads? So yeah, that's called a CRM, I think is what you're asking me, which stands for client, I'm going to type it out, Client Relationship Management System. So the answer is there's hundreds of those, and it depends on what you need. So some are very industry specific, some are very low cost and basic. So that's a good basic one. If I don't know your situation or your type of business, but Capsule CRM is quite basic. You could check that out. Pipe Drive is another one you could check out. Insightly is another one you could check out. We currently use ActiveCampaign, but that's quite elaborate and more expensive. You can use Streak, which works in with Google products if you use a lot of Google products. Yeah, I think I've even got sessions on CRMs and how to consider which ones might suit you. There's quite a few out there. We do one-on-one consults if you've got questions like that. You'd like to go through your business, operations and systems and get ideas if that's helpful too. Any other questions, guys? We're on 1:30. We've done really well. I hope you've enjoyed the session. I hope you've got lots out of it. I hope you're feeling super empowered to go off into 2021 and absolutely rock it. Stay in touch with us. We are planning to run more of these webinars over time. And I can always connect you to other resources, as I've said I would, and services. So we're never hard sell, but we just offer it. If you would like it, we're here to help. We do everything with the Creative Collective in terms of branding, website, social media, Google Ads, SEO, you name it. Do we do the session in person? When it comes to consults, we have consultants in most of the major cities in Australia. Many we do online, but if you happen to be in a city where we have someone, absolutely we can do it in person. We have one in Sydney, we have one in Adelaide, we have a person in Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, etc. But many people do these online because we have clients overseas, and through lockdown, obviously we got super used to doing that online too. Just like this, we talk over the screen, and we can use our big whiteboard over there. Like that's a session we did last week that looks like that. All right, guys. Well, I think the questions are slowing up. I hope you got what you wanted out of the session. I'll send you a short survey to make sure and get your feedback. We always welcome feedback. Stay in touch with us. Have a wonderful 2021, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.